Hello, and welcome to Sunset Talks, a podcast by Sunset Hospitality Group from the Ritze Café Gourmet in Dubai Harbor Yacht Club. Today, we sit down with someone who has shaped luxury hospitality across continents for more than 2 decades, Philipp Knuepfer, Chief Operating Officer of Sunset Hotels and Resort, joined our group at a pivotal moment as the division accelerates its global expansion with new openings, new markets, and a renewed vision for lifestyle hospitality. In this episode, we explore his journey, his leadership philosophy, and how he's helping build a unified yet distinctive operational culture across all Met and Sunset Hotels and Resorts destinations. Philip, welcome to Sunset Talks.
Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank
Good.
you.
Good. First of all, with all my guests, I prefer to start with what the motto of Sunset Hospitality Group, we bring people together, mean to you as a leader in hospitality, in luxury hospitality.
First of all, thank you for having me, Hassan. Very,
You're
very,
welcome.
very happy to be here with you and to talk a little bit about
We finally made it, actually.
yes, Sunset Hospitality and Met and my favorite subject, hotels. So to answer your question, I think it's a bit of a twofold question, both from a leadership perspective as well as from a strategic perspective, correct? So from a leadership perspective, bringing people together, especially in hospitality, is critical because we allow them to come together, create ideas together, debate together, come up with plans together, and really come up with the best of the best at the end and roll that out, correct? So
Correct.
allowing people to be themselves, to create a combined vision, to create a plan moving forward, I think from a leadership perspective is very, very critical.
Yeah.
And building teams and giving them that voice and letting them shape the future of where we are going. That's the true pleasure of bringing people
Of
together.
course.
Strategically, of course, as well, in a very specific manner of where do we place our hotels and resorts, in what communities, in what locations, correct, in what areas, in what countries, again, is critical of bringing people together there. Not only do we bring guests together to create these communities within the hotels, but we bring guests and colleagues together. Again, creating a destination, creating a community, and hopefully creating memories they will remember and take back home with them. So
Yeah,
for me, bringing people together is kind of the red thread in the DNA of what we do in Sunset.
And what does it feel for you to join a company that is growing so fast? You joined as a chief operational officer, and what do you see it? How do you feel like joining this company that has been growing for the past decade very fast?
I mean, first of all, the feeling is very exciting, correct? I'm somebody who enjoys fast pace. I'm somebody who enjoys trying new ideas. I'm somebody who enjoys an entrepreneurial spirit, all of that. And we have that in Sunset in particular in Met Hotels and Resorts. But one particular area of what is very special for me is creating something together, correct? With everybody in Sunset, with everybody in Sunset Hotels and Resorts, we're shaping a community, we're shaping a culture, we are shaping a concept, correct? What I can be part of and help with to shape based on what was already there, but what we are carrying forward rather than just maintaining a status quo. And I find that very, very exciting. It's very close to me as a person.
And with your 20 plus years of experience in luxury hospitality in one of the lead hotels in the world, what leadership principles you carry with you today and you brought them to Sunset Hospitality and to Met Hotels?
I think at the end of the day, we work with people, correct? Hospitality is about people, and we make visions and missions and memories and dreams through people. So, for me, the leadership principles remain the same, regardless kind of what flag or what brand is behind it. And that is, I always try to stay humble, to listen to people, to give people the space to be themselves, to try, to fail, and coach and guide along the way. And that's something I'll always had and I will always have, and I'll try to lead by example and help that everybody can develop to their full potential.
But with 20 years, Philip, I wanted to be honest with me. Does it give you more like you have to be more careful or you have to be bold in your actions and your day-to-day tasks with your team members? 20 years is not it's a whole experience.
Yeah, it's a lot of time,
It's a lot
correct?
of time
I
dealing with people.
and as we know, dealing with people is probably also the hardest, correct?
Exactly, it's not
And
easy.
not the hard, but it's also the beauty of it,
Yeah.
correct? So I think for me is yes, you remain bold. I think especially luxury hospitality, it's all about details. It's about motivating people. It's bringing out the best in people. So to answer that for me is I'll continue to be bold and continue to take risks in a way to try new things and try new experiences.
And how do you see luxury evolved since ever you started with your career in hospitality? And now there must be a difference. Like there's a lot of stuff that has changed, like technology, artificial intelligence, just recently. How do you see it evolved with time?
One of my favorite subjects, and you and I have spoken about it multiple times, correct? And I think it's a question what everybody in luxury hospitality asks themselves. So, has luxury changed? Absolutely. What was 20 years ago luxury is no longer luxury today. How has it changed is the big question. I think it has become more relaxed. It has become more experiential. It has become more personalized. I think there is less brand loyalty, and I think luxury nowadays is defined by the individual. And I think that is the biggest challenge. Whereby, when we started luxury hospitality, you could maybe follow one standard throughout the world. That has changed a lot. For you, luxury is very different than it's for me,
Of
correct? For
course.
one person, luxury is checking in with, welcome drinks, teas, all the fanfare, red carpets. For somebody else, is not to talk to anybody, get silently your key on your phone and go to the room. And I think this adaptability for us, for our teams, to adjust luxury to the individuals is very, very important. The second big piece is experiences, correct? I think luxury has become a lot more accessible to a lot of people, but it's what do I take away? What experiences, what memories I take away? Life has become so fast, everything is so accessible, correct? Sometimes luxury is the silence, and I think the true luxury is really creating memories, dreams, and taking that away from the moment. So what does that mean for us? I think we'll have to continue to be adjustable, agile, and define luxury to every individual guest while not losing focus of what's our DNA in Met Hotels and Resorts.
And for you personally, where do you see luxury? How do you define luxury for you, for yourself?
For me, myself, and I think that is for many people, my biggest luxury is time.
Time.
And spending time with my friends, with my family, defined by certain luxury aspects we know, be that the linen, be that the food quality, be that the design and all of that. But ultimately, for me, the biggest luxury is time and having a good time. That's for me true
Spending
luxury.
good time. You joined Sunset at the time, as we said before, at a very fast growing pace. But what made you decide that I'm gonna join this company? I'm gonna go speak to these people and tell them, yes, I will be part of your company now. What made you? What made you feel that this is the right moment to do this?
It's I have a very interesting story to that because I was a
We're
client of
listening.
Sunset, correct?
You were a
And I
client
was a
of
client of
Sunset.
Sunset. I remember I came to Dubai to find a perfect beach club operator,
Okay.
and my last stop after all the beach clubs along the way was Drift,
Okay.
and I was carried away, and I was very impressed with the design, the experience, the level of service, the uniqueness. That I said, "Who is this?" And of course, it led me ultimately to Sunset. I think the first person I met was Guillaume, and then eventually I became a client. I met Antonio, I met Nas, I met Danny, I met Carmen, I met James. So, and had about 18 months back and forth
Oh
with
wow.
interacting with everybody in
Yes.
Sunset. And my wife often reminds me, said, Philip, you came home one night and you said, wow, this is a company, the people I feel, the DNA I feel, I would love to work for something like that one day in my life. And here we are. Few years later, I am part of this, and I feel very excited and proud of that, because I think in Sunset, well, we have something very unique that we have very little hierarchies. I think it's a group of people who want to create something together, who push something together. You know that.
Of
Sometimes
course.
we'll push very hard, yet at night we can sit together again and love and have a good time. There is a lot of bonding, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of teamwork, and there's a lot of, trying to push into new areas, trying to try new things. There's nothing wrong with failing and trying again. And I think that's a bit of a startup mentality for sure,
exactly.
correct? And a true entrepreneurial company. But that makes me very excited to be part of Sunset. And I think what you said, what is being created in this pace, on this level, is very unique.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you were at Drift, which is part of our day life division, and you saw what you saw. What made you feel attracted to that vibe made you feel that I want to be part of this company, and then you entered, right? What is the one thing or many things that you saw from outside that were different from the inside? It could be something positive. What is the thing that changed inside you after you joined Sunset?
I saw the agility, the dynamics, the uniqueness, correct? The product, the people from the outside, as you said. I think the one thing what changed when I really came inside was people,
People.
and the ability, the way we work together as a team, as colleagues in the different divisions, yet combined in that one Sunset picture. That was for me the biggest eye opener, I have to say, and I think that is the uniqueness of Sunset.
Nice. We now have a huge pipeline of coming hotels, and we have also existing hotels that are already open and functioning. Uh, how do you keep consistency across operation in all these hotels without losing, first of all, not losing the I would say the DNA of each hotel, but at the same time not losing the DNA of the brand? It's hard.
Probably
Obviously, I can see
very
it. It's
hard,
very
and that's
hard.
that's why I smile, right? Because I think that's probably in scaling one of the hardest aspects for any hotel or hospitality company in the world, correct? Because it's tricky to stick to the same standards over and over again, yet you have to do it. I'll have to say, so I think especially for us in Sunset, whereby we are not driven by just pure standardization over and over and over again, correct? We want the experience in each location. Turkey is very different than
Exactly.
Spain.
The
Spain is
locations,
very
the
different
cities.
than Singapore, correct? Singapore is very different than New York. And I think as a traveler, and again, what we said earlier, what is luxury? You don't want to go into different locations, different countries, correct, different cultures, and necessarily feel always the same. No, you
Yeah.
you want to become part of the community for the time you're there. You want to become part of that culture for the time you're there. So, while I think we're focusing on delivering brand standards, consistency, we'll also be very, very mindful to make sure that every hotel and every resort has the ability to use this within their local setting. So rather than calling it standards, I often like to say we're using guidelines more,
Okay.
because again, that gives you the opportunity as the local team in that location to define that with your local heritage and your local DNA. Otherwise, it feels a repetitive things for a guest. And again, I think it used to be a lot like that. It's fair to say, correct?
And now it's you give a little bit of space for people to adapt locally and
And to be themselves, no, like I often say to our teams, look, please, when guests come, treat them like they come at home. Hotels and hospitality is not rocket science. If you have friends at home, you welcome them, you offer them a drink, you give them another drink, food, you make sure they had a good time, you hug them at the end. And I'm not saying we're hugging every guest, but you make sure when your friends leave, they had a good time and they come back. And that's for me, ultimately, if we can achieve that in the hotels, we have mastered the art of hospitality.
and which area in operation you think has potential for improvement in hotels? Which area that guests can easily tell if you improve it, the guests will immediately feel the change or the enhancement.
If you think of a hotel or an F&B experience, there's a lot of touch points for a guest, correct? From check-in, getting to your room, luggage, experience, food and beverage, leisure
communication,
facilities, checking out. and there's many ways which can go wrong in hotels, unfortunately, on that journey, correct? So for me, the number one thing we need to focus on to continue to elevate this is to bring technology, service interaction, cultural differences, right, and experiences all together. Very, very often we have disconnects between technology, for example, and human interaction. And I think if we can blend that seamless, that you as a guest have a flawless journey, I think we'll have achieved a lot, and we'll continue to push on that moving forward. In particular, technology, which can help us overcoming a lot of the tasks which are a little bit more transactional and bothering to really move forward and move seamlessly in and out.
You do believe in communication with all the guests on different levels, even if with the technology too. Do you think that this way you can make them feel that they're closer to you, closer to the brand itself, closer to the management behind the hotel?
Yeah, I think, luckily we have technology, correct? Be that something as advanced as AI in a chat box, or a simple WhatsApp message with you while you are in our hotels or resorts, I think is very important.
Because our hotels,
because we use WhatsApp, as you know, for example,
immediately,
correct?
exactly.
And I think that is a form of communication which many years ago was maybe be seen as not very personalized
Or intrusive,
or
maybe.
intrusive or whatever. But again, WhatsApp is for me the perfect example. I feel very good if I get in the morning a WhatsApp message asking
To
me,
tell
how
you
have
what
you
to do.
been?
Exactly.
What is happening today? Is there anything I can do? And it's a piece of technology which I can personalize, tailor-made to you. How was your
Yeah,
dinner last
exactly.
night? What do you want to do? So I think, again, it's important to use technology, but to blend it with personal and human interaction. So I think we're blessed with technology, and we shall continue to push forward on it to use it wherever we can.
Since we're talking about interaction, you traveled a lot. You worked in so many continents, between Americas, between Asia, and you dealt with a lot of people from different cultures. What is the one misconception that leaders have when working with people from different cultures, from different countries? It's not easy to understand the culture, to adapt, and to deal with them the way they want to be dealt with.
Yeah, I had the pleasure to move 10 or 12 times, I think, so far in my career through different countries. And funny enough, in every country, I thought I had figured out the DNA. So to answer your question, I think the biggest misconception of leaders is that we take principles which have worked, which we feel comfortable with, correct, to another country and apply the same, which, as we know, of course, is a total failure, because everybody is different, every culture is different, every upbringing in a different culture is very different, how people communicate, how they react, how they feel about interactions. So I think every time you enter a new country, be that where you live or be that the team you interact with, you have to keep in mind what is that local culture, and that you are a guest as a leader in their culture. So it's not they have to adjust to me,
You adjust.
I have to adjust to them.
Was
and
it
I think
easy
that's
for you?
no, and I've made many mistakes, but I luckily always had colleagues who were kind enough to forgive me with these mistakes,
Okay.
and allow me to correct them, and then become very, very close to them. And I think it's something I move around globally very consciously of that. Yet it's a skill and it's an art to master perfectly. Huh?
Well, previously you mentioned that you were excited and you like the fast pace. Okay, but fast-paced companies sometimes they miss few things, and I don't know for you if you think that these companies they underestimate certain parts when they are scaling too fast. Do you think some companies forget about some tiny stuff that would have later in the future a big impact on them?
For sure. Again, it's a very fine balance, correct? If you think about us coming from Dubai, Dubai is very fast paced, correct? Dubai, everything is possible. In Dubai, things come up very quickly. So again, we go with this mentality into certain cultures and countries where it's
It
the
doesn't
complete
work.
opposite, correct? and people look at us, people look at you, people look at me, and well, let the guy run, correct? Good luck.
I felt
we
that
continue
myself,
our own pace,
exactly.
correct? And you cannot blame these cultures for that, because I think
Okay.
again, we entering a different culture, a different country, a different destination, sometimes even within countries, if you think about it, right? It's down to us to adjust to that in order to be successful. Are others making mistakes along the way by scaling? Absolutely. But again, I think there's nothing wrong with making these mistakes because they are learnings, correct? As long as we learn from them, we forgive ourselves and others forgive us, and we take this mistake and convert it almost into a learning and to a win. So I think that's just be conscious of this, and that will help us. And we will continue to to make those mistakes along the
As
line.
long as they are not huge mistakes. Beside architecture and beside locations, what is a strong pipeline for you? I know we have a very, very, very long, big pipeline for the future, for at least for the coming 5 years from now. But aside architecture and aside the decoration and the location, what is a strong pipeline for you?
Again, if you think about the design, the architecture thing, we can repeat or adjust, of course, to each market, but it's a relatively straightforward process, correct? The more difficult part is the human aspect in that, and for me, signing on a lot of projects quick again is good, but ultimately you have to open them, and not only you have to open these hotels, you have to operate these hotels
You have
consistently.
to recruit.
So for me, this operational readiness, being trained, having what you said, that talent pool who can go into that, correct? Because again, you also want to have people from within who carry the culture of Sunset Hospitality into new venues, correct? Having enough general managers, having enough restaurant managers, having enough hotel managers in place to take on that next hotel, that next resort is absolutely critical, and it's something we're working on tirelessly. And I have to say that's the one thing what keeps me up at night sometimes is how do we develop enough talent for that, and how are we operationally ready to tackle this fast-paced scale of opening hotels. But
So
so far, I have to say, in the last two openings, we've done quite well. And again, there is a big learning process in this too, and I think again that's good. We are getting better with every opening in delivering that pipeline.
So this is making you awake at nights to think about what makes you excited about the next phase of Sunset Hotels and Resorts.
Every time we enter a new destination, a new country, a new location, and we're talking here from a global scale, correct? We have the opportunity to introduce the sunset culture, the sunset DNA, the sunset venues into a new country. And that makes me extremely excited. And not only does it make me excited, I see when we sit with investors and we show them what Sunset can do, when we bring investors to Dubai and they come back and they're very excited and fired up and say, okay, when do we start? Correct? That shows me the true value and the true power this brand carries and have. What we being into it actually every day, we sometimes forget about it. No, it is very, very exciting what we have to offer to people and to investors and to owners of hotels. And I think that's something what is very, very unique. Also, if you think about that, when you look at hotel companies in particular, very often, for example, food and beverage is something what's somehow pushed aside because maybe not as profitable or not as easy to generate, or you need to go to an external restaurateur to do this. In Sunset, we have that in one company, correct? Be that dining, be that day life, be that nightlife, be that
Complementing
gaming, be
each
that
other.
right? And that is something what excites me a lot, because that gives us a unique edge compared to many, many, many other players who are far bigger, far more global than us. And that is, I think, it's something extremely exciting, not only for us as a company, but also for the industry as a whole.
But you felt a drift before joining Sunset. Do you still see it on people's faces when you sit with investors and when you sit with the people who are interested in approaching Sunset?
Yes, for sure. And I think the evolution of that is, for example, Baoli, correct? Or Hanu. We had recently an investor who shall remain nameless, but who will very soon do a hotel with, and they spend a weekend here, and they were convinced.
Okay.
And where can you do that? Where somebody, has that same experience what I have, and feels that energy, and feels that promise of our DNA to bring people together and enjoy that moment and celebrate life. that you have that instant classification and instant, conversation to somebody to say, where do I sign?
And what do you think these people, after they feel okay, they feel they enjoy, they're happy with what they see, but they're not gonna sign and give us millions of dollars to make projects just because they felt happy? What attracts them to Sunset Hospitality Group on a strategy level, on as for you as a leader? What make them come and invest, approach and invest in Sunset Hospitality Group?
I think it's our uniqueness on three folds a little bit, correct? I think first of all is the agility we operate with, correct? I think it's this relationship an owner can have with Antonio and Nas directly
The
and
co-founders.
the entire team, correct? Because in many large organizations you deal with various layers, correct? Here there is a direct contact, correct? And a direct flexibility and a direct entrepreneurial agility between two parties. So that's one foot for me. Second and all is a little bit what I said earlier. If you come as an investor and you see what we have to offer, the portfolio we have to offer for you, again, from dining over social gaming, over social wellness, over day life, over nightlife, that is very, very unique. And then with each of these individual, divisions, per se, that what there is on offer, that's something what not many other people have to offer. And then last but not least is, I think, what we spoke a little bit about earlier, and that's the change in luxury, correct? I think for a lot of investors who have already a couple of, let's say, traditional hotel brands, they too see this shift in luxury. They too see this shift in consumer demand, consumer focus. And what is that next level of luxury? And what is that next consumer demand? And I think that's where we come in with Met Hotels and Resorts, and we provide something different. We provide that form of relaxed modern luxury, how I like to call it. What is interesting for an investor, and something new to see and try out. That doesn't mean we don't need to deliver results. We have to deliver results too, but we do that also quite successfully. And more the way we'll show in the hotels, we can deliver that, be that from a distribution perspective, be that from a quality perspective. And we often have investors who come and stay and they walk away and feel, reassured in what we do.
And where do you see in the 5 years, in the coming 5 years, if you want to make a shift in the on a operational level, of course, to enhance the product and to enhance the services that we do? Where do you see it?
Consistency, consistency, consistency. I think that's the main one where we have to continue to improve. Combined with what I said a bit earlier, this blending of technology
Yeah.
and human interaction, and if we can and continue to provide this consistency in service levels, in our DNA, in our approach to modern and relaxed luxury, then I think we have elevated the entire brand. And again, we're dealing luckily with people. But that's also the most tricky part and the most difficult part to do, to get everybody aligned along those lines that, again, we don't have every detail necessarily repetitive in every hotel. But if we get the principle right, correct, of welcoming, serving, and creating memories for guests, then we have achieved a lot.
And now we're present in Europe, we're present in Asia, we're present in Turkey. Where do you see in these coming 5 years our presence? Where is our growth? Where is your focus? And why?
So we want to be a global brand. We are a global brand as a
What are we
Sunset
missing now? We're
Hospitality.
missing the
right?
Americas.
Well,
and,
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But we want to be a global hotel brand and hospitality brand as well. Correct. I think we'll have a good presence in Europe, and there's still some destinations we'll definitely want to enter. Be that Madrid, be that Mallorca, be that Zurich. Correct. Be that London. Be that Paris, correct? There's Greek. There's a few more locations where I wish we can put a flag. But in order to become global, we need to continue to expand in Asia. We've just opened our hotel in Singapore. From there, Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, Indonesia, correct, are critical markets for us, not only to be present in those markets for our European outbound, but also to make sure that the Asian outbound market, if you look at China, for example, which is more and more coming to become, the most strongest luxury outbound travel market versus the US, again, you need to have a brand presence in China,
In China.
and all over Asia per se to make sure the brand is known. And then of course there is the US, correct? I've always said, and maybe a bit biased having lived long in the US, but I always said you can't be a luxury global brand without being in the United
US.
States, correct? That doesn't mean we need to have 50 hotels in the United States, but we need to be in key locations in the United States.
So it's very, you know, when you think about the growth of Sunset Hospitality Group on a global level, meaning like for the dining, for the day life, we're present in so many countries, 26 plus, I think, for now. And when you try to focus on that also with the hotels and resorts, do you think that we can say Sunset Hospitality Group is already global and now we're trying to take the hotels and resorts globally?
Absolutely. You know, Sunset for me as a hospitality group is already a global brand, correct? And I think the hotels and resorts division will benefit from that
Exactly.
aspect. I think the other thing what is unique for the hotels and resorts division per se is every time you open a hotel, it gives you the opportunity to at least open another 3, 4, 5, 6 other brands
Under the
within that
brands.
ecosystem of a hotel, correct? And I think that in particular makes it very, very interesting for us to push the global expansion of the hotels and resorts forward.
And it makes the whole group like a unique group. Like you can go and you can see the restaurants that are present in other countries and other areas under the umbrella of Sunset Hospitality Group. Philip, for you as a leader, what is the one truth that leaders in hospitality, they discuss it privately but they don't take it out? Something that
Good
is
question.
really, really behind the scenes that we don't see as guests.
You see it as a guest, and we don't like to acknowledge it very often, and that is that perception is reality. Because I like to often, you know, say hospitality or hotels and resorts in particular is like a swan. It glides very beautifully over the water, looking relaxed, looking gracious, looking fantastic, looking perfect. But under the water, correct, the feet are rotating like that. And let's be honest, hotels are tricky to make sure we keep this perception, what you want to see as a guest and feel as a guest up, correct? There is cost pressures, there is labor pressures more and more, correct? There's efficiency pressures, correct? There's distribution pressures. There's a lot of things which have to come together behind the scenes in order to let the swan graciously swim. And I think that is something what's not very often publicly discussed, yet we are all very, very well aware of, to orchestra those individual tasks and challenging tasks. Take labor
course.
challenges, for example, correct? With rising costs, with inflation, right? And again, being an industry where we cannot do it with half of the staff, correct? You will feel it as a guest, correct? We're a very labor intensive industry despite technology. That is, I think, the one unspoken rule what keeps hospitality professionals and experts, you know, engaged on how to continue to tackle that, while also staying, you know, profitable and generating more profit for owners and investors. Because at the end of the day, we're a business and not a charity.
You need, of
correct?
course, exactly.
That would be for me the number one unspoken biggest challenge what everybody faces.
And it's funny that you can simply see that by just opening one door in the reception area, for example. You see the behind the scenes, how everything works in a different pace while the guests are just enjoying the view or just enjoying the services, etc., etc.
Yeah, and luxury hospitality in particular, I think, is very detail oriented. Correct? It's not only what you feel, what you look. Let's be the linen, the design, the materials being used, the service. Again, this goes back for me. Perception is reality. You can very quickly lose this. Correct? You know, if you come as a guest and 2-3 things go wrong, and they could be related to shortages in labor, pressure on cost management, correct? Planning and organization, you might not come back, correct? And not only that, you might, or most likely will tell your friends not to go back. So for me, this perception is reality. Sigma is in hotels and in restaurants, in any hospitality venue, a very, very critical one. What we need to get right every single day in every single interaction.
That was a very insightful discussion with you, Philip, to understand what happens on the operational level and with all the information and all the experience that you gained in the past decades. But to summarize all of that, one last question that I want to hear it from you. What does Sunset Hospitality Group mean to you, for you now as a COO of Sunset Hotels and Resorts?
It means to me passion for what we are doing. It means to me a group of people who is extremely passionate of what they are doing. It means to me a group of people who are extremely professional within their area of expertise, and us recognizing that and allowing the expert in their area of expertise to be the expert. It means to me excitement of what is coming. And when I look back and again, applaud and feel amazed what was built in 15 years, where Sunset Hospitality comes from. And it means to me grateful to be part of this process and this journey, to being able to create something, to build something together, what will be there for a very, very long time. So that is for me Sunset Hospitality.
Well, we are so grateful for you to be with us on a group level, and I'm personally very grateful for you being here with us. We finally made this episode. I know you have a very hectic schedule in Asia. Thank you again for being with us today, and thank you for watching this episode with the Chief Operational Officer, Philipp Knuepfer from Sunset Hospitality Group. Watch our episode on YouTube and make sure to follow us on Instagram to stay up to date with all our news.